Imagine a world where you can't buy anything without permission, where every daily choice you make is monitored and logged into a database controlled by the leaders of your nation. A world where you could be forced to buy the things your government wants, or blocked from purchasing the things it doesn't. A world where your money may no longer be a tool of personal freedom, and instead one that could be used to control your every decision, action, and move. Well, that world may be closer than you think. In fact, in many ways, it's already here. Welcome to our 100th video, and to mark this milestone, we're covering something that could be the most impactful change in the way that money operates in human history. And without being too dramatic, this will change our lives forever. Now, this is the central bank digital currency, otherwise known as CBDCs, and it's going everywhere, to the UK, US, Australia, Canada, and everywhere in between. Yes, we've covered this topic before. However, there has been so much change in the world of CBDCs that we thought it was important to bring this information to you again and get you up to speed. Now, if what you hear in this video does make you a little worried, it is important to share it. So whether that's a simple like or sharing it with others, it's going to be very, very helpful. So let's get into things and let's talk about how together we may be able to stop this from happening. This is Sigrid Kaag, the current finance minister of the Netherlands. On the 26th of October, her party submitted a new set of laws to Dutch Parliament, a bill that she says has been designed to stop illegal money laundering, but that many argue also infringes on personal privacy. The laws would require that all banks in the country be forced to track and keep records of any transactions above 100 euros, a limit that right now is set at 10,000 euros or more. This would give the Dutch government access to an incredible amount of personal data on its citizens, data it would be able to access at any time without any kind of warrant. Across the Atlantic, Joe Biden's government is seeking similar new laws in the US that would drop the bank reporting limit from $10,000 down to just $600. This has drawn criticism and has been called a massive search warrant without a warrant. However, US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen brushed aside these concerns, suggesting that Americans have nothing to worry about, saying that the collection of this new data is nothing more than a few pieces of information about individual bank accounts. So this does raise a few questions. If it's just a few small pieces of information, why does the government want it at all? But anyway, what if the government didn't just have access to your transactions over a certain limit and they had access to everything all the time? Well, this is where CBDCs come in. A central bank digital currency is a new form of digital money. It's like cryptocurrency, but whereas crypto is decentralized and private, CBDCs are exactly the opposite. A CBDC would be completely owned and controlled by your government. They would hold your wallet, your money, and have access to all your financial data, including information on every transaction in your daily life. It would also make banks obsolete, as your account and wallet could be held by your government. Only a couple of years ago, CBDCs were considered hypothetical, but that is no longer the case. Just last week, the Federal Reserve launched a 12-week trial of its own CBDC, a trial supported by financial institutions like MasterCard, Citibank, HSBC, and Wells Fargo. But the US definitely isn't alone in creating a CBDC. They've been fully launched in 11 countries already. And according to the Atlantic Council's tracker, 112 nations around the world are at some stage of implementing a CBDC, including Australia, India, Canada, and Brazil, nations that account for more than 95% of the world's total GDP. In other words, a CBDC will be coming your way very, very soon. But there has to be some sort of an upside to CBDCs, right? Well, according to your government, there absolutely is. And it seems that they're all reading from the same script, because no matter where you look, it seems that they are saying the same thing. Rishi Sunak is the new Prime Minister of the UK, but in his previous role as Finance Minister, he said CBDCs would be a safe and secure form of new money, and one that would foster inclusion. The US Federal Reserve says a CBDC would be the safest form of money available and offer an improvement on safety when compared to the current monetary system. The International Monetary Fund also says CBDCs would be more secure than traditional money and offer more safety due to not being as volatile as currently available cryptocurrencies. And the World Economic Forum believes that CBDCs CBDCs will help promote financial inclusion around the world, as well as providing more safety and security by cutting down on financial crime. But the thing is, not everyone is so optimistic about CBDCs, with an article by Forbes summing up many people's concerns in a single headline, stating very simply, central bank digital currencies are about control. In a moment, I'm going to cover off a few more hypothetical scenarios of how a CBDC could be used as a tool for control. But first, I want to know what you think. Do you think that CBDCs are a great thing for safety, security, and inclusion, or do you have other views? Let me know down below. A CBDC would allow your government to track almost everything you do, what you buy, when you buy it, and who you buy it from. But as reported by the New Yorker, chances are your government is already spying on you in this way, with at least 45 nations, including Germany, Poland, and the US, possibly illegally collecting data on their citizens today. This is why I am already taking steps to protect my data online, and I'm doing this by using NordVPN, the sponsor of today's video. NordVPN was just named by Time magazine as one of the best inventions of 2022, a list that celebrates innovations that make our lives better and safer. Time praised Nord Security for helping shield us against hackers, companies, and potentially sneaky governments by encrypting user data and keeping it away from any unwanted prying eyes. And it does all this without compromising on internet speed at all, because Nord is the safest VPN on the planet, as confirmed by independent tests. NordVPN has 30 days money-back guarantee, so you can try it risk-free. So sign up now to get 4 months free access by going to nordvpn.com/Sorel. There is a link in the description. Now, before I continue, I also just quickly want to say that we are making some really big changes to this channel very soon. And if you want to be the first to know, we are going to be sharing that in the newsletter first. There are 75,000 people plus on that newsletter, so there's a link in the description for you to sign up for that. Now let's go back to CBDCs and why so many people seem to be concerned about CBDCs. And as the Forbes article states, the main concern is about control. A CBDC would give your government a level of power it's never had in history. And the most worrying part isn't necessarily that they would have access to all your financial data. It comes from the fact that a CBDC would be programmable, like the rules of a video game. Your government could program your money and the way it can be used. For example, it could be programmed so that you could only spend it on certain government-approved items, or completely block you from purchasing some others. For example, again, only items your government deems to be essential. With a CBDC, they could also directly control how much of your money you spend, hypothetically limiting you so you could only spend a certain amount of money each day, or on the other hand, forcing you to spend all of it by a certain time period. And if you didn't, your money would just vanish from your account. At first glance, some of these ideas might sound a little far-fetched. Like, you might be asking yourself the question, why would the government want to stop you, block you from buying certain things, and why would they want your money to expire? Well, here it's important to understand the reasons behind these possibilities and how these actions could become a reality when CBDCs enter our lives. Let's say your country's economy is struggling or stagnating. Your government could stimulate the economy by forcing citizens to go out and spend their money. This would be very easily possible with a programmable CBDC. First, your government could set your savings to expire within 30 days. Now, obviously, most people wouldn't want their money to just vanish, so instead would go out and spend it, causing money to flow through the economy. In other words, the exact outcome your government wants, enabling them to engineer the behavior of citizens. Another very plausible way a CBDC could be used to control the way you use money is by controlling your carbon output. We all know our world has become obsessed with carbon emissions, and very soon most of us will have a personal carbon limit enforced upon us, something already being tested or talked about in many nations on Earth. As a CBDC would give your government access to your entire purchase history, they could also calculate your carbon usage, and if you go over your monthly limit, they could force you to stop creating more. For example, by using a CBDC to block you from buying gas for your car or a plane ticket, they could even cancel your ability to buy so-called controlled high-carbon food items like meat, coffee, or rice. But instead of stopping you from buying these items, they could just fine you for producing extra CO2. And because they hold your money already, these fines could just automatically be removed from your account. These are just two examples of the powers a CBDC would give your government because of the programmable nature of this money. There are a lot more examples I could talk about on how a CBDC could be used to control a population, but before I go, there's only one that I really want to cover. One of the biggest concerns around CBDC is how they could be used to control free expression of people. In China, where a version of a CBDC is already active, people's social credit scores are linked to their bank accounts. And if they say the wrong things online, for example, in criticizing the government, their rights to use money goes away. For example, being limited from buying plane or train tickets, or even from buying certain kinds of goods. This is something the Chinese government has already enforced upon upwards of 23 million of its people. But most of us don't live in China. We live in societies that are considered much more open, liberal, and free. But how long will things stay that way? Just a few days ago, the Swedish government voted to make it illegal for journalists to criticize the government. In Australia, freedom of expression is already not protected by the constitution, and new proposed laws would allow government ministers to sue people critical of them. And in Canada, Justin Trudeau has already stopped mostly peaceful protesters from accessing their own money. This is why many people fear the implementation of a CBDC, because government has a history of wanting power over people, and a CBDC would give them ultimate power over our actions, the ultimate power to take away your money, the very thing we need to survive, allowing them to engineer the actions, speech, and even thoughts of a population. Now that you've heard all this, do you agree with the Forbes article title that says that CBDCs are about control? Let me know down below. And there's also a second part of that article headline that I didn't read before. And the headline is, central bank digital currencies are about control and they should be stopped. So, can we stop them? Like it or not, CBDCs are basically everywhere, but we can vote against them. Firstly, by voting out politicians who support CBDCs, and secondly, by voting with our wallets and choosing not to use them once they're implemented. Without us using them, it will be impossible for them to succeed. So if you do fear that a CBDC is just going to give your government more power, remember this: without us, they have no power. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in for our 100th video. And remember to sign up to our newsletter to get that first info on what is happening to the future of this channel. And if you enjoy this video, you might also enjoy the other video we did on CBDCs. It is linked on your screen right now. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Also, we have a private membership where we talk all things finance and freedom. There's a link in the bio, and I will see you in the next one.